The most interesting and rewarding part of the shamanic journey is how well it disengages our ego from being the one that's in control of our existence. We find along the pathway that there's a misconception that people believe that they're going to come to the shamanic path for more power and more control, when in fact, usually this pathway really asks us to be humbled and to come from a place of servitude always, which means the ego doesn't get what it wants. We have to work with spirit, with our guides, with the ego, and all the other narratives and the paradigms of conditioning that are influencing us at one time. So if you're looking for that sense of humility and that sense of understanding something bigger than what our egos are telling us about, then the shamanic path is very good at disengaging that sense of control and allowing us to witness our experience from many different perspectives. People often ask me, what if I draw one card over and over again? What does that mean? Now, with shadow cards, we really can get a lot of depth of the information from just one card. The way that we've designed it is the cards all have an intuitive meaning and reflection, but also some action steps. I notice that a lot of my students will draw the same card over and over again, day in, day out, for months. And I simply tell them that they haven't integrated what the medicine means, and they obviously, to me, haven't done the action steps either. Now, the animal spirits are trying to teach you what their medicine means, and sometimes those teachings take time, experiences, and integration to truly understand the message of that card. So if you keep on drawing a card over and over again, it's that animal spirit trying to teach you about its medicine. And the more frustration, the more wonder, the more resistance it brings, the more it is teaching you. So that's why we develop shadow cards, because we want to learn through discomfort. We want to know the parts of ourselves that are trying to hide from us. So if you keep on pulling the same card, keep on listening, keep on sitting in silence, keep on talking to that spiritual plane or that animal spirit until you really understand its medicine. When it comes to us, for those that are highly sensitive, intuitive, creative, and possibly maybe we don't fit into a system that is rigid and has us aligned with some kind of linear progress towards success. When we are standing in that place and we are looking at the world and we look at all the disharmony in the places that we have not found connection and we have not found wellness and we have not found our tribe, still the best place to focus our energy and attention on is finding balance and holistic health within ourselves. Now, this isn't the internet's version of what's healthy for you. This is your divine balance. This is balancing the alchemy and the elements within. It's finding what releases your resources and what drains your resources and what environment you thrive in, based on the supportive relationships you need around you, the energy, the time, the pursuit of money or stability that is unique to you. So we can stop living out other people's expectations of how we need to live and who we are. So as always, the focus is focus on your own radical self-acceptance, focus on your own health, and then from a full cup, go out and find connection, creativity, abundance, and purpose. When it comes to disease and symptoms in my clients and students, I find that we approach the multi-dimensional plane of health, which means there are emotional and spiritual and psychological parameters to every disease and ailment in the body. Now, you can go to a GP or a doctor to figure out the pathology and the physical ramifications of cause and effect on the body. We can also go to a psychologist or a therapist to understand possibly how our mind's programs are affecting our day-to-day health. But what about the psycho-spiritual aspects of disease? What about how our repressed psychic gifts and the way that we've always been since children has been oppressed, suppressed, and repressed over time until we've put that part of ourselves and locked it deep in our body and asked it never to come out? Our body absorbs that. Our body needs to create a defense mechanism around that. And we help to address what makes people feel safe and well and what makes them feel not safe and not well. And a lot of the time they're surprised by that information. So they find that using intuition and flexibility and creativity and sexuality as a way to find mental stability or emotional regulation or some connection to spirit. And there's no right or wrong parameter of that. We say if the body goes into spontaneous healing, it must be a change in perspective or those habit-forming alignments to spirit that can really help them get there. And whatever that looks like on the outside, whatever keeps us away from the emergencies, from the intrusive surgeries, from the powerful medications that we know we have access to, is generally treated as prevention. So what if prevention for spiritual people was meditation, being in connection with the trees and the animals and the plants, and asking spirit for the strongest intentions for our life? And that's something that we can't get when we visit the doctor. Many people have asked me recently about ancestral curses. It's something that we deal with greatly as shamanic practitioners. Now, in modern life, on the soil that we're on, ancestral curses come through as an inherited tendency towards disempowering habits that have been passed down from previous ancestors that may have been unresolved or somewhat incomplete in their nature. We can't control what our ancestors went through, and sometimes we're not even aware of the stories of what happened 2 or 3 generations ago. But when someone presents to me and comes to me as a client and says, I really don't understand where this whole big string of bad luck is or where it's coming from, my first inclination is, I wonder what is happening in the ancestry. Now, because we can bridge space and time and we can speak to those that have passed, shamanic practitioners can tune into the ancestral lines and ask who is trying to be released from this curse and who set it in motion. Now, there's a misconception that someone cursed us, but it's more that an ancestor went through such a deep trauma that they never properly got over, that they passed down inherited patterns, belief systems, and understandings to the next generation that are based on fear rather than love and acceptance. Now, there's many people standing up to heal their ancestral lines because they are saying with a level of acknowledgement that this is not the inheritance that I want to play out for the younger generation. This is not something I want to pass on to my children. So in effect, we can clear what the curse represented, but then the work is for the individual to move away from any fear-based conditioning into loved-based behavior patterns. And on some level, our soul has chosen the DNA, the physical form that we're incarnated in, and therefore chosen the ancestry to provide that pressure as well. So healing is on many different levels. Healing the ancestry says, this stuff stops with me, and I choose not to pass it down to anybody else, which is an incredible honor and can relate to a huge responsibility, but it's definitely worth it. When it comes to a sense of betrayal in relationships, what I've learned from working with people for many years is that betrayal tends to be an indication that the ego has been bruised or hurt. Now, if we took this sense of betrayal into a courtroom and argued both sides of the story, would we truly be able to deem where the betrayal came from? Now, if we can't find that sense of justice, or if that sense of justice is always relative to people's feelings, emotions, and the contracts we signed with each other, then how are we to find balance and respect within our relationships? In fact, a sense of betrayal usually tells me that someone has gone through something that actually represents a huge amount of healing and growth for them. And what may present on the surface as a minor setback from a relationship lens can actually be an iceberg of healing that could incorporate their past, their childhood, their past lives, or their future lives. So when I hear that word betrayal, I feel the energetic imprint around it to see what has caused that sense in their lives and what are the unspoken and unconscious expectations of our relationships that are putting this burdensome structure around them. When in fact relationships are there for us to ebb and flow through flexibility and respect and love that is forever changing and changing its parameters. Are we putting expectation from society's conditioning around what we think is right and wrong? And is there ever truly a sense of right and wrong in relationships? Maybe there's only serving and not serving. And that's all we can really use to judge our sense of betrayal or connection in each relationship.